All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, so we're live on Facebook now. Let me just share this into the community real quick. We got a new friend that's coming on. We've never had her on before. Sharon Shadduck. We're going to get right to it. We had some electronic problems this morning on the first show. We started about 30 minutes late. We had the same problem, not the same problem, but we had more problems. So we're going to get started just a little bit late. All right. These shows resonate with you. Please share. We would appreciate it. We are working hard over here, our brother Aaron Pearson, on expanding this network and creating the things we've been talking about all year, providing a platform for anyone to inject their own channel and expressions and inspirations and experiences. We're going to have an independent server, independent stream, and the ability to broadcast as much as we want, as many channels as we want. It's good to see everybody. Let me bring up our guest. And in typical Soulogy fashion, we've never talked. It's going to be spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and depending on what we're talking about or doing, courageous. All right, let me unmute you. Okay.
There's something on my computer. Come here.
You see that? Do you see that? Can you hear me, Sharon?
Yes, it says start. Yep,
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. Hello, how's it going?
Great. How are you today?
Very good. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, happy almost 2020.
Oh my gosh. Everybody's, this is like the second coming, right?
Yes.
2020.
Yes, yes. It's very auspicious numbers, and I think it's going to be absolutely a new year, entirely from what we've had this year.
Yeah, new earth, new year, new human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know much about you, and I went to my messages and I saw this video you sent me, which had to do with crystals and healing, and it was you know, I skimmed through it. It was very good. The energy was very good.
Thank you.
And it made me curious as to, you know, how long you've been doing the energy work that you're doing, and when did you wake up?
When I was very young, I seemed to be in tune with nature, and my relatives had a large home and land, acres of land in Montrose, Pennsylvania, and they had a car there for me, and they had a beautiful vegetable garden. I'd pick from the vegetable garden. I'd go out. If it rained, I'd go in this nice car, and otherwise I would sit on the moss grass and I would start singing, and all sorts of animals would come and sit by me. I was never alone, and they would actually sit and listen to me sing. And then I'd lay down on the moss in the sunlight. So I was always attuned to the animals and to nature in itself. I did not start to get into crystals until maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago. But even prior to that, when I was 11 years old, I had a near-death experience. It was very extensive. And I started reading books. The first thing that fell off the shelf, actually fell off a very high shelf at the time, was a book, There Is a River by Edgar Cayce. And that started explaining some of my, my near-death experiences. And from that, those things awakened to other things. So then I could actually see, almost have pilot vision, where I could see out into far distance. And so I would start showing people, even Montrose, my uncle and my aunt, we would see silver disc. They seem to be taking things off the top of the trees like scientists, checking our environment out. And so this seemed to be the norm for me. And people started giving me things. They started giving me Andaras. And those are like a crystal-like, and those are in the high mountains of Southern California. So people would just start gifting me. I was gifted from a nun with a Mother Mary pendant that actually had the gold around it from the 1800s. It is one of the originals. Supposedly, that the medallion was made through another nun, Sister Catherine, and she had issued it through the bishop to be made for Mother Mary, and she saw the sightings of Mother Mary, and Mother Mary asked her. So these things were given to me as gifts, and it just started to flow. And the first thing with the crystals also was when I woke up with a crystal in my hand. I'd never purchased a crystal before, and I was in bed. I woke up. I was bringing it to my lips when I woke up, and it was absolutely frightening to me because I was pretty solid. It wasn't that I was into crystals or any of that. More into nature, animals, taking care of our land, our recycling and so on. And then I thought that it was made of silica, and I thought maybe I need silica in my body, so I bought liquid silica, and I thought maybe that's the reason. But there seemed to be some kind of a hunger for thirst and knowledge uh, dealing with these crystals. And before I knew it, people were giving me them even, all types. It could be anything of value, of no value to them, but value to me eventually. So they became almost a way of gaining information, if you will. Their energy is very much alive. Let's put it that way.
Wow. Man, that was a lot. Thank you for sharing space with us and sharing this information with us. I don't even know where to start. But yeah, this is incredible. It's almost like at such a young, early age, you brought in whatever, let's say, other dimensional or parts of other dimensions with you. You were perfectly aligned with animals and then with the crystals. Do the animals and or the crystals speak to you?
Well, I'll give you a true story. I was picking up my son on New Year's Eve, and his friend had a dog, and the dog was barking. And he came to the door, and the people opened the door to me, and I said to them, I said, you better watch what your dog did in the bathroom. And the dog knew immediately. I don't know if it was telepathically. I think that's exactly what it was. He knew that I was saying, oh, you've been naughty. And he started backing away and yelping like, oh no, she told him. So he had torn apart the entire bathroom, but I had not entered the house yet. And I told them that. And the bathroom was way off to the back. And they said, how did you know that? I said, I don't know. But they said, we've never seen our dog act like this before. You caught him red-handed. So I naturally have an affinity with animals. I don't really whisper. I think it's always been telepathic.
Yeah.
And it is a true form of pure love for our planet and for people. And I'm certainly not perfect in any way, shape. And when people have high expectations, it's difficult because you know things, but that doesn't mean you're always applying them.
Yeah.
So I think I'm sure I'm perfect in God's eyes. I know I make God laugh a lot.
we all make.
Yeah.
We all make. The good thing is we're starting to laugh at ourselves too. At least
that's very important, that we never ever take ourselves seriously in any manner. It's very important. I find that God has a very rich sense of humor. Yeah. Very rich.
And so, I mean, you were a little kid. I mean, these things were happening to you up to that story you told about 11 years old. Did you have anyone to talk to? You mentioned your aunt and uncle, but did you have anyone to talk to you about this stuff?
No, that's why I would read Shakespeare. I started reading, actually, after my near-death experience, I gained a speed reading, and everything would be highlighted in yellow as if I had been in some source of radiation, perhaps. Wow. And so everything would be highlighted, and I found myself to be a speed reader. And I could take a book to this day and read most of it, or almost know what parts to go into, and I could tell you the basic whole story of that book. So I still retain that. I no longer retain the highlighting effects, which I lost probably after a year of my near-death experience.
Wow.
So I didn't have anyone to talk to. And in fact, when my mother when I was young, I had said to my mother that a friend of her at church, there was something going on with her stomach. It's all red, I would say to my mom. And I was probably only 5 or 6. And she looked at me and she totally did not understand anything at all about that premise or about an illness for her friend. And her friend did die later on, within
Wow.
7 months or so. But so I couldn't, even when I was younger, I didn't know how to articulate.
Yeah.
And that was probably the most difficult part, is seeing things happen and not be able to do anything about them.
And then the telepathy that you describe with like
Mhm,
animals and crystals,
mhm.
I kind of get the impression, and it resonates with me, that even though you're communicating, it's not easy to put into words.
It isn't. It's like everything is frozen. You might have heard that term before, but it's true. Words are frozen. And really, the flow of love is an extremely real thing. It is a matter, it's a source of matter. And it's very difficult to sometimes put things into words. It freezes them. And also, it is up to the other person to interpret it. And people can twist that, what you are saying. They can have a totally different interpretation of what you wanted to make clear. So I think being that the words aren't always articulated in the purest sense of the word.
Yeah, they don't tell the full story. And
No.
then in the respect, just for the sake of the conversation, everything's energy. Anything that we experience is energy. But you had mentioned Mother Mary.
Hmm.
I'm familiar with that energy and other energies, as I'm sure you are.
Hmm.
But just out of curiosity, from in respect to your journey, have you had any type of star family or galactic connections, or any other types of divine essences?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. At an early age. Yes.
yeah,
Hmm. Yes, and I think it happened when I was in Montrose, Pennsylvania. It probably started even maybe earlier, but um, definitely. My aunt and uncle saw the sightings, and we would look and shrug. I'd say, "What is that?" to my uncle. He said, "I don't know," but I do know that he worked for the state, and he did go out where one day there were all the trees were bent and cut in a certain way, not cut but bent,
yeah,
and radiation on the ground and so forth. And he had to go and clear that up. So he was, he was thinking the same thing that I was, that it was also what we used to call scout ships or scientists. I mean, he would laughingly say that, but this is an actual event that did occur, and he had to go clean it up. Mhm.
wow. Scout ships and scientists.
Yes, yes, I do
Yeah,
believe that they're just like us in a lot of ways.
yeah, yeah,
We have life here, and there's life everywhere. And through my
yeah.
near-death experience, that is exactly what I learned.
So I wonder if those ET family, because we're all related.
Yes.
I wonder if they are from another dimension, or they just happen to have technology that's greater than ours, and live in the same dimension and are actually part of the physicality. I don't know. With your experiences with the physical and non-physical, what do you think? Do you think that they're in our dimension and just have higher technology, or do you think they're actually from other dimensions?
That's an interesting question. And again, this is just taking from my perspective.
Yeah,
I believe that we access different dimensions. I do believe that is what we do. When we think of the past, we are accessing another dimension.
mm,
When we're thinking of the future, we are accessing another dimension. And when we are here and now, there we are again. And yet we can almost do those three things at once. I could be
yes,
talking to you and actually thinking of something else almost,
that's
or
right.
remembering, while someone else is talking, I can be remembering the past that I want to insert that and communicate that to them. So who's to say that we aren't all interdimensional?
Yeah,
I believe that we have another home base, possibly, being that I had my near death experience when I was younger. I was shown that there is a reason and purpose for every person being born and on this planet, and everyone is sacred,
yeah,
everyone and everything for that matter, everything. And
Yeah.
that includes the water. The water's in concert with the air is in marriage with the land, and so forth. And when we harmonize with ourselves and harmonize with the earth, something much greater will occur. And I was shown like a football field that opened up, and it showed many, many, many planets and stars, star systems. And I was shown that they were plotting, and they had a whole group of what I called, spiritual light beings were all applauding.
Uh-huh.
And they showed me, and they zoomed in on Earth. So there's something that will occur that is something we're all going to be extremely proud about. And that keeps me going and knowing that we focus on solutions only. We focus on the positive only. And you're going to get a lot of work done.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about, there's a lot of talk about shadow work and inner work. Do you think that if we get to a certain point, we can focus more on the positives and resolutions and solutions? Or do you think that goes with it, every step of the way? I'm just curious.
I think today we have to be more than ever very diligent about what we're putting in our bodies, what we're listening to, what we are watching, what we are not watching. We have to be more proactive.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to meditate as long. We don't need to do any of that. Our bodies have accelerated along with the earth.
Yeah.
So we don't need to do necessarily things we used to do as much. But when I say active, prayer is very active. Prayer is, to me, a verb. It's an action word.
Yeah.
So some of us will pray. Some of us will insert ourselves in the politics, and some will insert ourselves other places. But so I think it's most likely that even our younger generation will not put up or stand for anything but a healthier life cycle for people, a healthier life cycle for animals. I foresee that people will be eating less meat. I think that's a very big probability. If you ever have seen a slaughterhouse, then you will know that there's nothing to be gained by eating anything dead and putting it in your body.
Mm-hmm.
In that particular case, the gladiators were all vegans. They were the strongest of strong. Apes are extremely strong. They're all vegans or vegetarians. I'm sorry, vegetarians. So I think the more and more we're going to look at organics, saving the seeds that we have that have not had GMOs. I think we're going to be more concerned about what's flying in the air above us. What is the foliage that they're using? And that's also the same for, doctors and nurses. I think they're going to turn around and say, well, we need to infuse other modalities instead of just a shot, or instead of a shot, something else as well.
Yeah, we had a nurse and a doctor on recently, like this month, and both of them talked about incorporating other modalities, like holistic or whatever you'd want to describe them. Yeah, and they were both, becoming very successful at doing it, and it was becoming accepted. So, I mean, now in terms of like your journey, when did you start to go into the type of specific healing that you're doing?
I had always done it as a child. When I was even, again, 5 or 6, I would take a bird that was heaving and I would put it in my hands, and I would think, oh, I don't want you to die in the sun or whatever it was. And I would immediately pick it up and put it in the shade. But before I was able to lay it down, it seemed like it would take one big breath and it would fly away. And so I realized probably way back even when I was born, I remember teething. I remember my mother talking on the phone. I knew who she was talking to. I am a twin. I have a twin brother. And I just, again, I probably was born this way. But I think for a long time, I didn't want to believe in it or access it when I found out other people didn't have it in the same manner that I had. I felt that I was an outcast. And so I didn't speak about it for a long time. And then I found that I seemed to be able to assist people. All healing is self-healing. Who wants to take responsibility for that?
Right.
And so they'll go to another person. But I truly empower people that all of your healing is self-healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Starting from the minutest singular point of trauma, sadness, grief, and everything else in between. Now, if you're born with a defect that we call a defect, which oftentimes is a blessing to those around them because they have something to learn. And this person has done a wonderful job in coming in and helping people to have more compassion. And so forth. But I think that we can still make our journey here a blessing for ourselves and others, but you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
It's very important to truly look at what you're reading, what you're listening to, and all the technology around you. I really think that it's important to use different modalities, stay on the computer for a little while, but again, if you can have access to being off it for a while, all the better with the radiation, the 5Gs out here. That is also not the best for the human body right now. Are you there? Brooke, can you see what's happening there? I can't see him. What's going on? Oh, there, he's off. What happened? Do we know?
Technical difficulties.
Okay.
Maybe he'll be back.
What do I do?
Oh, I guess you can. I'm not sure people can see you. You're live right now, so
But they can't
possibly
hear.
you could keep talking just in case there are people there.
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I think he figured out an accident. Something happened. I didn't like you talking about the 5G.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see. Could you come here and see what's going on?
You have 4 lovely participants. I guess you can keep talking for a few minutes because we do not know what happened to our incredible host.
Okay. I wanted to share a few things with you. The shungite helps with keeping the electronics a little farther away from your body. And so I use a shungite wand, or I wear shungite from Russia on my body. These are wonderful tools to have. You may put them in your water and it clears the water. It's like a filter. And there are certain, these are Andaras, beautiful crystals from California. And this is another one. I don't know how much you can see. Beautiful. And it's very clear. It has beautiful energy. I use this for healing the earth. And a couple of the books that are out of print, but I found very fascinating, were The Smoky God. This is one of the books. And this, it may be out of print, but it was by Willis George Emerson. A very interesting book to obtain if you can. I found that interesting as a child. It was given to me. And I believe in crystal communion. And this is by Shri. This is another book that I really enjoy by a friend of mine. And we have the stones of the 7 rays. by Michael. And it's a wonderful book to tell you an introduction about how important the color of these stones are, as well as their tone and their vibration. Hi.
We've had nothing but problems today,
Yeah,
but
that's
we
because
know
it's high energy.
it is extremely high energy. The first show was incredible, and this one's been incredible. I was having a great time listening to you. I hope everybody's still here. I was trying to send you messages.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't get them.
it's just crazy. Oh, here you are. Let me just. Oh, we still got 52 people in the house. We're good.
Okay.
So, wow, this is amazing.
Mhm.
Now I saw a video that you did, and you take crystal, you lay someone on a table,
Mhm.
and take crystals,
Mhm.
and I don't know if you want to. Is that the main modality that you do as an energy?
No. I think, it's just like having any tool that you have. It's a wonderful tool, but if you don't know what to do with it, it's just sitting there. So you have to have the knowledge. This is one of the Andaras, and this is from Sri Lanka. And these are now buried. There's quite a few that are buried now because of the tsunamis.
Oh, wow.
So I have a few of these, and they're really beautiful. They're just beautiful.
Well,
I don't know.
I've seen some Andars. I've been given
Yeah.
a couple
This
of
one,
them, but I've never seen one. That one looks really intense. I mean, looks really. It
it is.
doesn't look like the other Andars I've seen.
Yes, it's very beautiful. And I have another one. This one, Swam in Bimini. A friend gifted me with this, and it looks like Mother Mary is actually on there. I don't know how much you can.
I can see the head.
There's a
Yeah.
woman, and
Yes.
it looks like she's bowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. With the arms out.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Catholic originally, so I've seen plenty of Mother Mary statues, and it looks like that one where her hands are out like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the other thing I believe in too, is that we have the Father and the Son, and it was most appropriately to say Mother Mary, and instead they inserted the Holy Ghost.
Yes, of course. That's part of the patriarchal collusion to suppress the feminine energy, right?
Mhm. It is. It still is. Yes, it still is happening.
So, from your perspective, this incredible life that you've lived, and for the last 39 years, I think you're about 39 or 40, right?
Oh, thank you. You
You
are
look
so
wonderful.
sweet.
Yeah,
No,
but
I will tell you one thing. People ask me about my energy level.
yeah,
It's extremely high. And I would say that I do believe, honestly, that the crystals are doing that.
yeah.
They infuse in me some kind of energy. And I'll just give you, for example, I was in an airport. I was in the Carolinas and Savannah, Georgia, and so forth. And I had terrible time wearing a little crystal around my neck because the beeper would go off and they'd have me take my shoes off, and then they'd have me take everything else off. I said, no, let me take the little crystal off. They said, it's not that, honey, it's not that. And when I went to take the crystal off, I said, listen, because they kept doing this. And I said, I'm sorry, I have to take this off. I mean, they brought in security and everything. A little tiny crystal was making that beeper go off. And they all looked at me like, we can't believe this. But so when you were talking about the crystals, you have to infuse them with your intention, and they will not work for you. They are true entities in every sense. And in the Bible, it states in the Bible alone, at least 60, 70 times, go to the rock. There's a reason for that. That rock has electrical currents, it has energy in it. It is a living being, and it is definitely a lot slower than you and I. However, they are a witness to everything on this planet, just like the trees are. And they're very powerful, and they won't go in for a negative vibe. They truly won't. That's the interesting part about these. They will not work for everybody. And so what I do is I might take one and I might put my thumb and infuse that side for health, turn it around, infuse the next one with my index finger, and infuse that for, the planet, for healing the planet, and so forth. I rub them, I do figure eights, I look at them, I photograph them, I study them, and then I start wearing them, and I do take them and put them under my pillow. And I ask, what is it that you're teaching me? Why do I have you in my possession? What is it that, and often people think they're picking out the crystal. It never happens that way at all. It's picking out you.
Yeah.
And that is what is interesting, is for the longest time, we did not think animals had feelings or intelligence. And now we find out they do. They absolutely do. Well, you'll find out that these crystals do a lot more than you can imagine.
Well, I never really, I have a few and I've been given a lot, but I've
Yes,
traveled a lot,
yes.
so I've given away a lot. But about 2 or 3 days ago, I just heard in my head, you need to wear some merlinite around your neck.
Yes,
And
yes.
so I told Morgan, I said, I need to get a merlinite crystal. And she said, well, I've got a necklace pendant. I'll let you borrow it. And I like, okay, because I know I don't know why I need to put it on, but I need to put it on.
Mhm.
So that you just reminded me, I need to have a conversation with it.
Yes, absolutely. And just put it to your third eye, your forehead, put it to your heart and hold it. I mean, you will get information. I think what most people do is they edit. They edit their information. And I found out I was my own worst enemy when I edited or tried to control a healing or tried to control anything. And when I just used the pure form of just doing the best I could, and really truly listening, then I understood, but I was blocking that. And I think you can't edit. If you get information, and hopefully you're coming from a very grounded space to begin with, you don't want to hold a crystal when you are not feeling the happiest. You want to elevate yourself so that you can be on that level of a crystal. They're very high vibration, most of them are. Even
Wow.
the earth is a high vibration. So even an earthy stone like carnelian is a very high vibration. And they'll say, oh, it is low vibration. But I don't believe that, because I've had interactions with a lot of my stones, and they'll change colors. They'll do all sorts of things. So
Wow.
I've seen firsthand that these things that you would consider even low vibration are not at all usually that's not the case. Everything on this planet has an energy level that can be brought up to very high standards to themselves, and also to help themselves and help heal the planet.
Wow. Powerful. And
Yeah,
one of the things that
you are powerful.
well, thank you. But one of the things that we've all had to contend with, I guess, as we've gone through the last few years, has been the whole idea of owning or integrating every aspect of dark, every aspect of light, the whole light
Yes.
and dark kind of thing. Where do you stand with that, and where do you think we stand as a community or as a collective? I mean, have we made any progress? Are we starting to get past that?
Oh, most certainly. Most certainly. You see, everything's being brought to the light. All the things that were hidden, all the things that were in the dark are being brought to the light. And every person on this planet, um, has a part in that, even though they don't feel they do collectively. And also, there's always pockets of people who gather together, whether it's at somebody's home or a church or wherever it may be. And they get together and they do wonderful things for their own communities. So I believe that collectively we are rising. I've seen it in myself. People around me have seen that when I was in the summer sun and I was excreting liquid, it was crystalline. It was absolute sparkle crystal. And I even looked at it and said to somebody, is this me? And I said, I don't have any lotion on, so it's not sparkly lotion. I'm not wearing any perfume. I was out in the sun. And they said, oh my God, it's you sparkle.
Yeah.
And I said, well, don't you? And then I'm looking at them and they said, no. So we're all changing at different rates, but it's all a beautiful collective energy that we're doing this together. So even what appears dark and negative is really part of the whole process.
Yeah.
And it may take time, but it doesn't have to. I mean, I've seen some interesting things occur even overnight. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of surprises in store for us, but I do think we collectively have to be more focused than we've been before. I think we have to know that each one of us is so powerful, but powerful in the way that God meant us to be. And
Yeah.
that was to nurture and help one another and nurture and help the planet and the animals. We weren't meant to overpower each other. We weren't meant to war at all.
Yeah.
And so I think, like Mother Teresa said, focus on the peace, not on the war. She'll go to a peace rally, but she wouldn't go to a rally against war.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Powerful stuff. And so you think we've made good progress?
Yes, I do. Even though most people would argue about that whole fact, I do believe we have. Absolutely.
And do you think what do you think 2020 is going to be like? Do you think we're going to enter either in 2020 or soon after like a new phase, a new period where we start to have magical abilities, higher skills and abilities out in the open, maybe what we thought were aberrations and different things like that, things that might materialize, that might happen to any of us, become more mainstream, where it's becoming
Yes,
more
I
known?
do. Yes, I do. I think people will become more aware of, I think they'll become more aware that there's more to this life than even what they can see
Yeah.
or unseen or hear or listen to. I think they're going to be awakened more to that fact. And it can be a shock to certain people or not at all. And I don't know that I think it's magical because I have always been in tune with, I've always had a deep, deep reverence for God. And I think that we are really capable of just being extra human even. And all of us, it could be the person on the street, it could be anybody at all. Your greatest teachers are some of the homeless. I've had wonderful encounters with people that, compassion, intelligence, they exude it. And I think everyone's here to teach us. And so I do believe that we need to all be sheltered and all cared for. And that is including that we are each other's brothers. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think it's not magic so much as, there's beauty in that. So therefore I would call that magical. But I do believe it's something every one of us can offer and give, whether it's our time, our anything at all. And so we're all so immensely blessed and loved on the other side as well. Immensely.
I get what you're saying too about the magic too. That's really our natural nature.
Yes, it
So
is.
It's almost like when we start to look at the magic, because we're looking at the magic as magic from a human aspect. Let's just say that. But
I think, and I think it's really important that people look around them, that they start looking up, that they look all around them, that they're more aware of their surroundings, but also look for beauty, look for love, look for it, because you are going to find what you look for. And it happens every time that there are just wonderful, wonderful things that I definitely could write a book on the beautiful things that have happened to me or occurred when least expected, and the beauty in each person that I didn't expect. Sometimes we all, like you said, the shadow selves, or I'm just like everyone else. I'm no different. You could become depressed or whatever. I'm no different. But what I do is I do know enough to elevate.
Yeah.
And so I will naturally, as a human, it is our nature to feel good, to want good, to be loving. It is our natural nature to be so. And when something has gone awry, you can see where people act out. And so we're seeing that now, but we can also help to heal them.
Yeah. By healing ourselves first and foremost, right? Keeping ourselves elevated, like you say, which is, you explain it very well.
And you have to harmonize. You have to harmonize within yourself, that shadow and the beautiful part of you, and what you call the shadow part, because that's still beautiful. But because we're so used to judging, I like the Abraham Hicks who said to, observe less and imagine more. And that's key. Observe less in the sense of all the negativity, but imagine how much more and greater and beautiful things can become.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. I'm just curious. This is a conversation. And thank you so much for this wealth of information and code you're giving us.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. But like, if you look at yourself just from the center of the universe, that's you, and you take in your own consciousness or energy, does it feel like there's any particular type of makeup, like lineage, be it like through Mother Mary, through galactic star family, through animals, through crystals, or do you feel very much all of the universe within you?
I don't think I'm any different from anyone else. I think what I can do, it's just like I believe what Jesus said, you can do what I can do even greater. And I think it's our time. 2020 is the time to pick up the mantle where all our ancestors left off and do even greater. And we are all part of that. It isn't, a person who has a greater education. It isn't the person, who has the most money. It's all of us combined. And the question was that you think, I think, maybe I think I've been blessed with more information, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
I've also played a little game I'll tell you about, and the game is, okay, you show me. And I would have conversations with angels and Mother Mary and God, and you show me the miracles. I want to see them. For a long time, I think all of us become cynical at one point, or a whole plethora of things happen to us that make us feel like we're not making a dent in life,
Yeah.
or we're not helping others, or whatever it is. And I asked them to show me, and let me tell you, they showed me. and and I'll give you for instance. So let me give you for instance. I would be walking down the stairs, and I was going to a garden party, and I have stairs in my apartment, and I was walking down the stairs, and I lifted up my dress, but it wasn't enough, and I was out the door and had to go down a few more stairs, and I was ready to tilt right over, flat on my face on a very hard concrete pavement. My daughter was waiting for me by the car, and she saw me lift way up in the air and be put down very quickly. All of this in like a splash of a minute. Now, I looked at her and I couldn't stop laughing, because I said to her, "What was that?" And she's like, "I don't know." And she was just like amazed.
Wow.
But this is only one instance.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do believe that you can put your angels and everyone to the test, as long as you believe that there's something so, and if you want to call it magical, that's a lovely word too. But the presence of God and your angels and your guides, and even, what technically has been known negative ETs, there are a lot of ETs, and I also believe we're extraterrestrials. So who are we to call them ETs when we are,
Right.
I believe, also the same. So, they're all around you. Every one of us has that. And you can open to that as long as you, again, stay grounded, stay steady. Very important you get your sleep. Very important that you might want to read about things to become a little bit more knowledgeable. Very important that you gravitate towards people who are loving and joyous people. So again, supplying yourself with all that happy medium will put you in the vicinity of that, because you'll be more awakened and also able to receive. One of the most difficult things for all of us is to receive.
Yeah. Wow, this is good stuff. Amazing. I'm just curious, you talk about grounding. You obviously spend a lot of time in dimension, like you said, it's all a different dimension every time you look this direction or that direction. How do you stay grounded? I mean, being so, yeah.
I am brought back to ground. You know, when you work with children, which I do, or teenagers, I'm always brought back to what their reality may be like. What did they observe in the morning when they come to school? How did their moods change? What can I do to assist? How can I stand back and listen? And so I'm very grounded in the sense that their lives are not often easy. And I think a lot of our lives are not easy. I did not come from an easy background either. So I feel that they keep me very grounded, as well as, you know, situations that I've gone through in life as well. Um, so, you know, I have my own personal tragedies, just like everyone else's has. And so I think that also kept me very grounded.
Mm. Do you
Yeah, it's just life experience. Life experience
Well,
can do that.
Well, I like what you said about, how you ground. I mean, it's like you actually, it's like service to others.
It
I
is.
mean, it's like
is.
service, it's service to self, but it's actually this one and the same. It's like you're mirroring your service to yourself, and your focus and attention is onto the collective or to others, which, yeah, I can see how having empathy or trying to put yourself in their shoes
Mhm.
and understand where they're coming from that's another dimension. I mean, that's a
Yes,
learning experience.
but it's also true that perhaps I don't have to put myself in their shoes. Perhaps I've lived some of it, and
Yeah.
so I understand it. You see, and
Yeah.
then the compassion, and then I do ask God for guidance. How can I help those, you know, that are in need of just a little boost in their lives? You know, often it doesn't take much to get someone started on their own journey where they appreciate life again, where they can
Yeah.
enjoy life, enjoy their own selves, because they are so loved. And I want to impress that, again, every person on this planet is so important and we need everyone. So I really suggest that we all reach out to each other and assist and be of service to others. As you said so well, that when you heal others, you are healing yourself.
Yeah.
When you are assisting others, really somewhere you are also assisting yourself. But it's a mutual admiration party, I feel.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I totally resonate with whatever we're doing is it's hitting all dimensions, all timelines. We're affecting the outer as much as the outer is affecting us. Yeah, I think it's a symbiotic, cosmic, soulgasmic relationship,
Mhm.
something like that.
It is. And, you know, even at nighttime, when people can't see, unless they put out a nighttime camera, but every once in a while you capture that symbiotic, even with the animals. And I've posted on my Facebook a lot of times different things. But I just love where the possum is taking off the ticks off a deer.
Oh, I saw that today. That was
Yes.
incredible.
Or the deer are actually taking care of a baby calf whose mother was left behind or actually went to be slaughtered. And so these things occur all the time in nature.
Yeah.
And they're very, and in fact, you know, I remember someone said to me, so I was afraid of bees. And this person said to me, now I want you to plant sweet williams. And the bees love sweet williams. I go, what? And you want me to put my hand and clip off the buds so that new ones will grow? And she said, you will never get stung by that bee, those honeybees. And she was correct. And I've done it for years. And it was amazing that they were working, that their sole purpose is to work and help the planet. They had no interest in my hand going down. And they even, I think, knew that I was assisting in a whole new plant for them.
Oh, absolutely. That's that telepathy you were talking about.
Mhm.
Do you think people talk about a flash, or a moment in time where everything changes and the whole world sees it at the same time? Do you follow that?
I think because we're all intertwined, which we really truly are, that I think there can be a collective moment. And I do think that we can, something will be different, something will change. Yes, I think that's very possible. I totally believe in all possibilities.
Yeah.
I never believe in, when someone says it's impossible, if you have the thought, you also have the thought to create it.
Yeah.
And that's what people need to remember. Whatever you think is, actually put into existence at some point. You can't think it if it isn't already in an existence somewhere.
Yeah. Imagination so important. It's coming in. There's like a fusion, I guess, of like imagination and intuitiveness.
Yes.
It's yeah, maybe it's the new brain. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, again, my concern is that we use the computers too much. They're putting in 5G energy. That's why I was saying that shungite, I use shungite from Russia. You can infuse this in your water and it will clear the water. You can also keep it on you to keep away the 5G energy. Orgonite is also like that, which I love. And so shungite and orgonite is what I normally use to keep any of the energy away, and I'll keep it near my computer as well as the phone and so on. So some of these things you can help and assist. I also believe in colloidal silver for the body. And I do believe that we need what is also in our ground, which is the copper and the magnesium and so forth. So I think it's very important to become well-rounded in all ways, physically, mentally, spiritually.
Do you have a website?
I don't.
I'm just curious. You've got so much information that, yeah.
I don't. I think, people are placed in pockets on this planet, and I think they're there for a reason. And every time, it seems that I never really wanted to be a speaker. All of this just came into fruition where people at a church would say, well, will you speak? And so I got up and did a sermon, and not about church necessarily. It could have been about anything, which it was. It wasn't necessarily just about a church service, and that's kind of spiraled into singing, and it spiraled into many different areas. And so I have done healing on a couple of famous people, which they've asked me not to disclose, which I won't. But so in general, I do it quietly. This is not quiet anymore, though, is it?
No, not anymore. It's not. I think you just opened the gate up. Hey, our friend Erin Lee, she asked a question earlier, and I was going to come back to it. And she asked it again. She's asking, do you have any recommendation for a daily practice for people with chronic illness? And the question she had earlier was, what crystal would you recommend for chronic physical illness?
I love Lemurian crystals. They're very beautiful. They're very special. I love Danubite. I'm probably not pronouncing this correctly. The Lemurians, I have a sphere, which is a Lemurian. This one has like a cracked crystal almost, but it's all natural and it has rainbows in it. I really think there's several for that purpose. A lot of stones are very healing. I like Moldavite to get us in the right frame of mind. It is appearing less and less, but I was given a piece of Moldavite, and as nature would have it, I had to have pieces of that. So I wear that as a necklace around me as Moldavite. I like that for an all-over healing purpose. It is very high energy, but I enjoy it immensely. And that is a tektite. It's actually a meteorite, and it has a clear glass, but you have to be careful that you are getting a raw one and not one that is man-made. So you have to know your source anymore. It seems like you have to know your source a lot. And I love anything purple, any of the purple ones are great. Amethyst, and there's all sorts of other high intention stones. Purple's always lovely. I work with so many. K2 is from one of the highest mountains. That's beautiful. Tibetan, there's also Tibetan quartz, which has little black quartz in it, and that's lovely. I don't have a lot of them with me right now. I should have put them near me, but yeah, so I use color. Color is a vibration as well. So I would put certain people across their chest, like something that is aqua, for creativity and imagination, and orange for focus, using the brain. Or before a test, I tell people to use orange, have orange all around them for a test, because that will help them focus. I use all different colors for various reasons. I do not use brown, and I do not use gray, and I do not use black. Those are the three colors I do not use, but every other color of the sphere I will use for healing. I like sound, the sound crystals, anything around the ear that gives you a little bit of sound or takes you out of this element for a moment is helpful and useful. Bells, anything, wind chimes. So the crystals, they all can do something quite special, but I like the Lemurian best. That's what I follow. The clearest crystal I like to use for healing, and I do wash it with just soapy water, warm. I won't use anything hot or cold on it, just a little soapy water, and they clean right up. And then I put my intentions again. So she would rub it with her thumb or her index finger and put her intention for each side of what she wants to do, or use just one crystal for that main healing, which would be for cancer and other things. But the clearer the crystal for something like cancer, the better. And the other thing I would suggest for people, for instance, with cancer, is to use linseed oil. Just a little bit. And I think you can maybe study that a little bit, but this is what I'm hearing. So I would suggest using those. Also, a very clean diet, a very clean atmosphere. Get rid of rugs, get rid of anything that holds dust and mold. So all of these things are very important. Is our environment, what we're putting in our body, and again, ingesting thoughts. So I met Sophia Loren years ago, and I said, what are the two most important things? And she said, one of the things is keeping happy thoughts. It almost keeps that cancer from invading you, because you are at a certain aspect in the body, because you have cells. You think of your brain having cells, but you have cells all through your body. So aren't they connected somehow to the brain as well? Yeah. So it's very important that you keep your thoughts very healthy, very clean, and have repetitions of something you enjoy. So if you have a passage from your favorite book that is something very beautiful, read that to yourself before you go to bed. Program yourself before you awaken, even, to have a great thought for that day, and so on.
Wow. Man, we got so many subjects we could talk with you forever about. We might have to talk about that.
They used to call me an encyclopedia when I was young.
Yeah, I think you're the whole library. So I have to ask you, from a personal standpoint, what is the most incredible experience you've ever had, just in this incredible life that you've talked to us about?
If we were going to take the whole span of my life, it's every person in me becomes a part of me. Every person. And I will tell you, when you're on the other side and you have a near-death experience and you have a life review, you see every single person that you've ever talked to or ever met. That's how important. How special. And it's special because we're all special, but how beautiful that all of these people have helped to make me who I am today. So I honor and give thanks to everyone in my life, because whether you could, I don't consider it good or bad. I consider it something that helped to pave the way, my future way. And I became so much stronger because of so many people and so many instances and events. So don't deem things that are negative to think that it's negative. It can be a really great experience in many other ways.
Man, just one mic drop after another. Wow. Well, I'd love to get together with you again sometime. I really appreciate that you came out with us to play today. You have a YouTube.
Yes, I do. Well, I am on YouTube. I have a friend, Vera, who videotapes me now and then, but I do have a Facebook, and it's just Sharon Joy Shadduck. I can do more of these anytime that you'd like. And so you can, and if you specify a certain specific thing that you'd like me to work with, I can do that as well.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I don't normally do something like that, but
I
in some
also want to, yeah, I also want to say that I did write for the Netherlands for a long time.
Hmm.
And it was Sharajoy thought of the day. And
Oh,
so
I
I would have for a few years, I did that as well.
wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. Well, big thank you from me and from everybody else.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for coming in, and yeah, I look forward to doing it again.
Okay. And
Absolutely.
it's so nice meeting you, Todd. Thank you.
You too. Take care. Peace
Happy
out.
New Year to all of you and happy 2020. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.